Well, if we don't record it, they don't get an episode, JJ.
That's true.
I have no idea what number this one is.
Who can say?
Hold
on, let me count it.
Okay.
Get out the weeks.
Oh, you're actually looking it up.
Yeah.
I think we should both guess before then. I'm going to say 41. No, that's too many.
Yeah, like 40 or 41.
Okay.
Those sound right?
Episode 40 or 41 of We Were Gamers.
Something. Yeah, I am on vacation.
Is it your vacation or my vacation? We're actually back-to-back on vacation.
That's true. It's tough to say because I don't know which order we're going to post these in. It could be 42 then.
It's pretty amazing that we both planned vacations.
Like back-to-back each other with no consultations whatsoever.
Literally, we didn't talk about our vacations, and we started talking the other day, and you're like, oh, we need to pre-record because I'm gone. I said, well, funny story, we need to pre-record because I'm gone.
Oh, really?
Back-to-back weeks. That's so funny. It's a good time of year for it, especially, but we're taking different tacks. You're going someplace warm, and I'm going someplace with snow.
I mean, I don't know. There's probably a lot of snow this time of year, so we got so much rain recently. It's probably awesome skiing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Were you planning to actually do that or no?
Oh, I'm skiing for sure. I have no idea what everybody else is doing while I'm skiing because nobody else that is going with me skis.
Not your problem, dude. Woo, hit the pow.
I'm going to hit that sicky nar pow.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome, man. I'm going to Utah. It's great.
Oh,
great.
It sounds so good. I'm so jealous.
They've got like 25 inches or something like that of powder in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And Mammoth Mountain, I've just been watching, has gotten like 5 feet already this season, which is a lot
compared to the last couple of years.
So,
yeah. Well, so apologize for our lack of newsy type stuff or any game talk really this week, but we over the next 2 weeks want to do kind of a pre-recorded like themed episodes, right?
Yeah, we'll do some themes and talk about a specific topic for hopefully most of the podcast.
I think that'll kind of be our game plan for all these types of episodes if we ever need to do a pre-week.
Yeah, I think that's a fair warning for what we're going to end up doing.
Nice. The only news I want to say is that I've been staring at that Nintendo Switch Neon, and God, I want to own one.
It still looks good.
It still looks good. I don't know that I can pull the trigger yet. Hopefully after we get back from vacation, I feel the same. That's my news for the week.
It's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I want to play that Zelda. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, since this was your theme, JJ, I think you should tell people what we're going to do this week.
So my idea for a theme was a primer on your hosts, which is, maybe a lot of the people that listen to this podcast know us personally. So they probably know a little bit about Andrew and I. And what we are and the things that we like. But maybe you don't know us that well, or maybe you're just listening to this podcast for some reason. If so, hello. And we would like to tell you about ourselves so that maybe you have a better idea of like the sort of places that we're coming from.
So this is the host primer episode.
Yeah. And we will do this in, opposite way so that Andrew will talk about me, and I will be talking about him.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see this.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, sure, I can take it.
Okay. Take it? What What does that even mean?
I don't know, man. I started judging my own character, I think, more than I judged yours.
I thought it was going to be all fun and games, but now I'm starting to think of like, how do I sick burn him?
Oh, no. No, mine's not any sick burns, but like, when we started doing this, I was like, what's JJ going to say about me? And then I started writing down things about you. And I was like, we're kind of opposites on that. And that's going to sound really bad when he talks about me.
This guy's a jerk.
All right.
No.
All right. Hit me.
So Andrew is I would say a much deeper and has had a lifelong knowledge and love of comic books compared with, I think, myself, who came to it a lot later in life, I would say.
I would say that's fair, and unfortunately, my comic knowledge has waned in recent years, but it's true.
As happens to many people, they outgrow the medium a little bit, maybe. And I think Andrew mostly kept up with DC Comics as a favorites, I would say.
Definitely Batman. And Image has a comic called Invincible that I'm obsessed with, but yeah.
Speaking of comics now, actually, was it you or Ken and some of those people who told me about Saga, which I have been really, really liking.
Oh, yeah. We told you about Saga during Comic-Con, I think.
Yeah. We talked about that maybe during the Comic-Con episode. Check back on that.
It's a nice one. I need to catch up on it. I'm not caught up on Saga, but it seems to be pretty good.
Anyway, so he's an old comics fan, or I don't know, not like Silver Age old, but older.
No. Yeah, most of mine comes from the 90s because that's when I could read.
Yeah. He also Andrew also likes, although his name is Andrew, but most people call him Andy, which I think I'm going to tell the story, and then you tell me if my version of the story is right.
Okay.
His wife has a brother who is named Andrew, or two brothers named Andrew, and they decided that there was no reason to have a third Andrew, so they called you Andy. That's my recollection of that story.
Okay. It's about 8% accurate.
The end result is you're Andy, though.
Yeah.
To most people.
Okay. I can give an in-depth version of that if you want.
Yeah. I want to hear how wrong I was.
Okay. So Katie does have a brother named Andrew.
I was right.
One brother.
Okay. I was half wrong.
So in her family, it was easier to call me Andy because I have never had a preference.
Sure.
One way or the other.
Yeah, I knew even in high school when we met, there were some people that called you that.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second. Just to answer your story part of it. I didn't have a preference, and he did when he was younger, at least. So we just went with that. So it was easier. And then, it's funny because people still get confused now that they call me Andy. They're like, "Oh yeah, Andy." It's like, no, the Andy that is standing in front of you, not Andrew.
Yeah.
For most of my life, though, I was Andy until I got to high school, and the roll call sheet had my legal name, which is Andrew.
Right.
And that was how I was introduced in class by the teacher during roll, and therefore in high school I became Andrew because I'd never corrected the teacher.
Okay. So that was where we differed then.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends that you met that knew me before high school would still call me Andy.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
And so I never corrected or changed anyone because I didn't care. So some people call me Andrew, some people call me Andy.
And there we go. That was the story.
There you go.
His story is better than mine.
Not really. It's just more complete. I liked your version where there were 4 Andrews.
I don't know. I could have sworn there was another one, but I guess it goes to show how good I am at names.
I mean, there's a lot of other Andrews in our group now, too.
That's true.
So, yeah, going by Andy's fine.
Good job, parents of children born in the 80s, of all naming all your kids Andrew.
I know. Next.
All right. He has a lot of hobbies, or used to anyway, back when we had hobbies. We used to do some miniatures gaming, and he was a Space Wolves player, which is one of the faction of Space Marines.
Oh yeah, in Warhammer.
In Warhammer 40K, back when we used to play that game. I don't remember what your faction was in fantasy, though.
Bretonia.
Of course. Andrew likes to play, I would just say in general that Andrew likes to play the humans faction in a lot of games. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I do identify that way a lot. Like in games where you can choose races and things like that, like Skyrim, I play human, and like when we play D&D, I play human.
Mm-hmm.
Very often, yeah.
Yeah, frequently. I don't know why that is. I just think it's an interesting quirk. And some people always like to be elves or dwarves or like space pirates or like weird robots or something. But
we
Andrew
have a
likes
friend
to
that
be.
always plays halfling.
Yep, we do. We absolutely do. We don't have any friends that always play dwarves, though.
Devin used to play dwarf.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was about it.
I feel like we missed out on something in our like D&D gaming life, not having a dwarf player.
I could play a dwarf.
Anyone can play a dwarf.
You just drink a lot.
Yeah, and then like shout things.
Don't toss me.
Toss me.
All right. I do play human a lot. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never really noticed that, but I guess I do. I like it.
Yeah, it was just an interesting thought to me because, like, you know, the whole point is like escapism and stuff, but in some cases, Andrew likes to stay a little not escaped or slightly less escaped, a relatable core of a different person.
I like that slightly less escaped.
Slightly contained. I don't know how to say it.
No, I like it. It's good.
So back, some of his other hobbies included we used to play a lot of different kinds of card games.
Oh yeah.
And Andrew was primarily he was a Free Kingdoms player in Warlord when we used to play that one. I don't remember. Did you have a faction? Did you play L5R with us at all? Even
I did. I didn't play as much as you guys did because you mostly played it.
We got into it a lot at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, you played it at the end and then played it in college.
Right.
A lot. And we went to high school together, by the way,
we did.
If people didn't catch that.
Yes, we did.
Earlier during my story, and went separate colleges, both in the Cal system, not Cal, but I was in the UC and you were in the Cal Poly.
The California system.
Both California schools, but far enough apart that kind of only got together a couple times a year.
Right, yeah.
But so L5R was kind of like where we diverged. We got a little bit of it at the end, and then I didn't play it during college because you guys were off.
Gotcha.
But I can't remember, what was the faction, was it the Darklands or something?
Yeah, there was a Shadowlands faction in that game.
Shadowlands was the faction that I played.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't remember. That was a weird... I think that game actually is a living card game now.
Yes, I think you're right.
Which is crazy to think about.
Among a lot of the other games that we played, too. I think that the Lord of the Rings game is now kind of an LCG.
Another game where you played humans?
Yep.
I just thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are some other
Come on.
big
Why would you not want to play as Gondor?
I don't know. I barely ever stood, I think, at any point how to play that game, other than you could collect all the ring wraiths, and that was cool.
All right.
That was the thing I liked in that game. Let's see. Other Andrew is an extremely handy person, I would say, that he knows how to fix and repair a lot of stuff, a lot more than me anyway. If I had to put a person in charge of a house, be a handy person, I would want him and not me. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a necessity sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm getting more experience with that as I've owned a home, but I think you're a lot better at it than me. That's for sure.
People have said that, and I didn't realize it.
No, you don't think so? I definitely think so.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that compliment. I think it's a compliment.
Yeah, it's intended as a compliment. I don't know.
I like fixing things that seem to be able to be fixed without much effort. And if I can pay a guy $60 to do it or buy a $60 tool, I feel like I gain something by buying the $60 tool and not hiring the guy.
Sure. Yeah, it'd be a real Renaissance man. Is that the term? I think that's a term, right?
Renaissance man?
Yeah, I know it's a term, but is that what you're implying there, that you like to have all the skills?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. Let's see, what was the other? I had one more piece on my list, and it's escaped me at the moment.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, live recording.
It can't possibly be edited out.
Nope.
All right, should I go? And then maybe if you remember it?
Sure, yeah, maybe I'll jump back in at the end.
Okay, here we go. How old are you, JJ?
32.
You were born in 85?
84.
84. Okay. So James John.
That's what it stands for.
Yeah, James John Krakowski was born in 1984. Should I do a whole bio like that?
You could try. Let's see how far you get.
That's as far as I can get.
Got the important parts.
I don't think a lot of people know that your first name is James.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. That's a weird one because it shows up a lot at work and stuff, which I guess obviously you don't see.
Yeah.
Because, that's the name. Right. You have to like correct every single person individually to get them to call you James or to call you JJ, as opposed to like correcting just the teacher once at the beginning of class, and then you would be called JJ. But no, to get at work, you have to correct every person you meet, and that's a hassle.
Did your parents ever call you James, or did they always plan to call you JJ?
I don't know if there was a plan there. Parents, if you're listening to this, write into podcast@wewergamers.com and tell me the actual story, because I don't really remember.
Huh.
But it happened when I was young. I know my mom's dad was named James, so my grandpa, but I don't know that like it was a confusion case. I think it was just like a nickname they gave me at some point, and then it stuck for probably longer than they intended.
Well, and you also had a friend named John James, right?
No.
Didn't you have a friend named John James and you were James John or something like that?
There were quite a few Jameses in my elementary school
maybe that's
class.
what it was.
And so it was advantageous at that point to be JJ.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm
just because then I wasn't the third James or whatever.
So there you go. We both misremembered something about the other person's name.
Hey.
I think that it's interesting to think about JJ as a person and a gamer, because aspects of your personality that come out in your gaming. It's interesting to me. So if you've ever met JJ in person or listened to him on this podcast, there are two things that stand out immediately, I think, from your personality that I, as your friend for a long time, love about you, and that other people are like, oh my God, he's really loud, isn't he?
This guy.
It's like there are two things. It's that you're loud and that you're extremely convicted about the things that you have opinions about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
But they're personality traits that are immediately recognizable. There are tons other ones, obviously, right? But
sure,
like
yeah.
if somebody comes away from a first meeting with you, they're like, that JJ guy's like, he's so loud. It's like they're intertwined.
I do tend to talk loudly just when I get excited about stuff.
Exactly. And it comes across the board.
And that happens a lot on this podcast.
But it comes across the board, and it's because you're convicted about something and you have like strong opinion, but it's not unreasonable, and it comes, I think, from excitement.
Can I stop you? You're an English major, is that correct? Is convicted a word? I mean, I know convicted like you convicted a criminal of a crime.
You have conviction. Can't you say you're convicted?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you, the person with the English degree.
I'm saying it in that way, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean that you have conviction.
Okay. I assumed that's what you meant. I just wasn't sure if that word was a word or not.
Okay. I just was trying to shorten it, but now that we've had to talk about it, I should have just said had conviction.
Anyway, I like it.
Okay.
I just think it's fun. Grammar is cool, guys.
You know what? It's English, man. You can say bigly afterwards now, so I might as well say convicted.
I refuse to ever say that word. Bigly. That's ridiculous.
So the thing that people don't realize, and what I have to clarify generally after they meet you, is that despite how loud you are and how strongly you have your opinion, doesn't mean that you're not listening to other people. You're always listening to other people, I think. It sounds like to me. And that the excitement level and the volume they should understand that is the beginning of discussion with you. I think.
I agree with that. I think having a discussion is more fun, or having discussions is fun, and it's more fun to have a discussion if people actually have opinions rather than everyone agreeing with each other.
So that has, I think, come across the board with every game we've played together. when we play games together, sometimes I get loud because I'm frustrated, and it's helpful to me to listen to you because when you get loud, you're excited, like you're having a good time, and I get loud when I'm frustrated, and so it's nice and calming sometimes because when you're not loud about something, I know that I shouldn't be. Does that make sense?
I get it. I'm like recalling back to some of these tabletop sessions we've had together, I think, and that line of thinking sticks for sure.
Yeah. So it helped me. Like, oh, JJ's not being loud right now, which means maybe I should calm down.
This isn't worth getting frustrated over.
This isn't worth getting frustrated over. So it's like a nice barometer. It's an easy barometer for me to judge myself on, which is nice. That's
good. I'm glad to provide you this service, I guess. I didn't know I was doing it, but yeah, you're welcome.
And I think that your love of things that you do like runs very deep and is unshakable. So if JJ says he likes something, he likes it a lot, generally.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's you in a nutshell, I think, as a person.
Yeah, I think that's true. I would say that you definitely have some of those traits as well, like the passion for certain things. Definitely, everyone has things that they're passionate about, and they go really deep on for sure.
Yeah.
So,
well, as you said, you're not as into comics in the past, but I think you're pretty into comics these days. So we'll get into some of your nerd cred here, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
More than comics, though, other things in that vein, I think you are a bigger fan of anime than I am.
I do like some anime.
Mostly, I like a lot of the anime movies and some of the anime shows from when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you keep up now still a little bit more than I do, and always had a deeper library of anime watching. Like if you had watched a show, I would sometimes watch it after you because of what you said about it.
I wish I had more time to watch that stuff. I like some of it. There's a lot of it not to like, of course, and like with anything, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And there's good comics and there's bad comics, or not good and bad, but like, ones that people like and less popular ones. And I would, if I had infinite time, I would probably make more time to watch some anime. But it's a lot tougher these days.
Yeah.
There's so much other stuff that I like more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that I choose to spend time on instead.
Yeah. But that's, that's another trait that I was going to say that you had too. And it mostly when it comes to gaming, but also others. No, you know what? With everything, is that like with anime, you said there's not a lot of good stuff, but you'd make more time for it. JJ's not afraid to try pretty much anything. So all the time I hear about new games that you're trying to play, like, oh, I'm trying this game. Oh, I'm trying that game. Oh, I'm trying, and it's across the board on genre, on style, on everything. If you think that it looks interesting, you're in there.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a try. That's for sure. I think my favorite example of that trait would be that I'm willing to eat anything one time.
Yep.
I know you've heard me say that multiple times.
It's one of the things that makes us friends outside of gaming is that you and I are like food. Yeah. You want to put it in front of me? I've never tried it. Let's try it.
Omnivores.
True omnivores. Cause I have no qualms across like anything. I will try it once.
I agree with that. I said, hey, if you put a panda over here, I'll try it. You want to feed me a panda? I'll do it. The panda's already dead, so I might as well eat it if it's on the menu. It's my opinion.
I don't know that I would invite that, but
no, right. I'm not going to go seek out the panda, but if it's there's no other chance you're going to get to eat a panda, so I'm doing it for sure. It probably tastes bad.
I can't imagine it would be very good. I mean,
it can't be good. It can't be good.
There's a reason we don't eat bear meat.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure that goes for like a lot of the other quote like exotic animals that you could find some places sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I've had like antelope before. It just tastes gamey.
Yeah. And do you know the difference between dolphin and swordfish? I don't know.
Nope.
Probably
I like tuna though.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, most of those exotic things that you probably don't need to eat and shouldn't be fished or killed, they don't add anything to your palate.
Exactly. You know what it is. They're either like chicken or they're like something else that's better.
Yeah. And we played a lot of games together over this time. Like you mentioned, Warlord was like one of our go-tos for years and years and years. It's too bad that game is gone.
I know. Very sad.
And it's interesting, I think. The hits and the misses with you are very interesting. You'll play card games nonstop, but as far as I could tell, you loved Warlord, didn't like Magic that much.
I did play it some, but yeah.
But you didn't like it that much.
Never caught on with me that much.
Which is interesting, because a lot of people that like Warlord love Magic, you know?
And, like, I would not be opposed to playing more Magic. It's just I never had the, like, close circle of friends that played it a lot.
You loved L5R. Super complicated game with a lot of different things going on.
That game is too complicated for its own good.
But you didn't really like the Lord of the Rings card game, which was ostensibly as complicated, maybe even less complicated. And which was weird to me always, because
I don't
have
an
Lord of the
explanation
Rings
for that one. I love those movies too.
Yeah, and yet, like, a game that I was super excited about and wanted to play all the time, and you just were like, nah, no traction with me. And that brings me into another point, I guess, is that when you don't like something, you're just done. Like, no, don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. Once it's difficult to get me to change an opinion, I would say.
Not that you're not willing to listen or concede other people's points, but, like, let's say, like, with the Lord of the Rings thing, right? Like, I kept trying to say, oh, I really like blah, 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 and you're just like, yeah, I got all the ring wraiths, I'm good. I don't want to play this game anymore. It's like, why? I don't understand. You know, like,
yeah. I feel like I hear the exasperated why probably too frequently in my life.
Maybe. I guess, I mean, but it extends outside of gaming too a little bit in terms of our friendship. Obviously, you ran cross country, inspired me to run cross country.
I think that was probably one of the single things that I'm the happiest about, is that you ended up deciding to do that.
Yeah.
That was a great sport, which I loved. I've always liked running, although I do a lot less of it these days, probably less than I should. And it was just natural for me. It's like, oh, well, I ran track and stuff, in middle school, and I might as well join the team in high school, do cross country.
Yeah. And that's an example that I wanted to talk about on this, about what you've inspired me to do over the course of our friendship, because I've never really, before high school, obviously you kind of like are exposed to very little out there. You have your close circle of friends in grade school, and then you go to, like, we went to a high school. I went from 30 people that I knew well, that I went from grade school K through 8 with these same people. Mm-hmm. And then you go to a high school with 500 people in your class.
Yeah.
Right.
It's actually that was actually a pretty similar story. I went to the same school for K through 8, although it was 2 classes, not just one. So I guess it's like 70-ish kids as opposed to 30.
Yeah.
But
we only had 30.
Pretty similar story. And then, high school, where my incoming freshman class was like 700 and change.
Yeah. So here's a list: cross country, hip hop, rap. Like, I didn't really.
You didn't listen to that stuff before me?
No, I didn't. Not until I got to high school. John Locke from our high school, who also ran cross country.
I met him in cross country. That's where I met him.
Yeah. So we'll get to that in a second. But you and then John were the only two really in high school and beyond that started saying, hey, this hip hop rap stuff's pretty good. And I was like, oh, wow, you're right. This stuff is really good. Some of it. Not so much anymore these days.
I don't know. There's still stuff that's good that comes out these days.
What was the name of that group you were just telling me about with Killer Mike?
Run the Jewels. I
got to look them up.
They're really good. But yeah, I actually don't know how I got into hip hop. I really have no idea. I listened to it on the radio and I liked it, I guess.
Yeah. I played computer games before high school, but I wasn't into computers as a thing, right? Like, I knew how to turn it on and put the disc in it and start the game.
It was a tool.
Yeah, it was a tool that was like a mystery box. And then as we became closer friends, I came over to your place, and like, you knew everything about how these things worked. And this was the first time I saw anybody like doing anything other than like popping in a game or word processing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know why either, but that's always something I've been fascinated with. And like, good, because I ended up going to school for it, and I do it more or less as a job.
Yeah, but so that kind of opened that door also for me. And then I had tried them, but I never really stuck with them very long. The only one I played before you and I really started talking about them was Final Fantasy VIII. So JJ loves RPGs.
I do play a lot of them.
I don't know if they're your favorite game if you self-evaluate, but if I were looking at you from the outside, RPG games would be the game I would say you easily spent the most time on. Well, because you have to spend a lot of time on them, but
yeah, unfair comparison, but also probably.
But you choose to.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
probably
like,
fair.
Like,
yeah,
you quit one and then play a ton of other types of games. Sometimes you just go back to back to back with them.
Yeah, that's true.
So those are the list of
RPGs.
things that JJ inspired me to try. And then I guess maybe I should just list a few things that I know that you like, so that people can get a better idea of what's going on in your brain. But if you didn't know, JJ loves The Fast and the Furious.
So good.
Despite saying that you don't like series, why does it have to be a trilogy?
I don't think it's fair to say that I don't like series. I dislike the fact that every movie that comes out now has to be a trilogy.
Yeah. Well, this is now, what, 8?
Yeah. Family forever.
And you like to play as generally like the outcasts in games. So like in Warlord, you played Nothrog.
Yeah,
which is kind of the
orc people.
Orc people that in the storyline of that game were kind of like the like downtrodden a little bit. You played Dark Eldar in 40K, which was the complete outcast, not only of that universe but also of the game makers.
Yeah, they didn't. The makers of the game didn't even like that faction.
And I think it stems from what you used to drive, which was like the outcast of vehicles.
Oh man,
the Saturn.
God,
I don't know if that was
plastic.
It was obviously probably not your choice, but it was. I think while you were driving it, they stopped producing. That entire manufacturer died.
Did it?
I think while you were still
were
had
they
your
still
Saturn.
making them while I had it?
I think so.
I don't remember, because like I got in an accident in college. Yeah, I guess they probably stopped manufacturing it by then. I don't remember. It was a bad idea to begin with. Let's be real. Making cars out of plastic body panels is like a fun idea, but like not actually very good.
Yeah.
And the cars weren't that good either. It didn't help that most of the cars of like the 90s and stuff weren't good in general. It's not really anyone's fault, but
I think that other than that, I'd say you're less connected to stuff and more connected to like experience than me personally. Sometimes, like, I have a hard time passing up on cool things once in a while. Like we'll go to BlizzCon and we'll look at the store case and you'll be like, yeah, those are really cool and nerdy and fun. And then you'll walk away and I'll be like, I need to own that.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't have the, and I know this is a good like compare and contrast right here. You definitely have a collection desire. Like you want to own series of things, collections of things that show, things that you love and things that you really feel a lot of passion for. And like, I can just tell people that I like those things that I don't need to own the like limited edition Funko Pop version of it.
Yeah. I have a hard time not trying to express the things that I like across the board with visual items.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting better about it. Less consumerist.
It's true.
About
it's actually a growth point that I have seen in you over the years of our friendship is definitely a lot less of that. Like I I have to buy this thing nature, which is probably good. I don't know.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, certainly it's become more focused. That's for sure.
Well, and a lot of it too is I think, as we become older, different things take priority, right? And yeah, there's important things in your life, I'm going to guess, that they might be a little more important than than that.
Food, shelter.
These are things that most people need. I would say actually maybe all people probably need those.
People that are people. Yeah.
People are people, so what does it mean? I don't know. Is that the song?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's you, JJ.
Yeah. I can do a little more comparing and contrasting here between the two of us. I would say that in terms of like fandoms, you fall a little bit more on the Star Wars fandom side than the Star Trek fandom side.
No. I have to argue this.
You don't agree with me on that?
I currently fall in the Star Wars fandom because I think that it has a stronger...
Because they're actually producing things in it, unlike Star Trek.
Well, but it has a stronger current legacy in terms of it's being produced by Disney now. The two most recent movies have been... One was good and one was great, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the geek culture support for Star Wars is stronger, I think.
Definitely. There's definitely a lot. I would say there are a lot more Star Wars fans than Star Trek fans these days.
And I do like it. I'm not...
That may have been different in the past.
Yeah. I do like it a lot. But I think when Star Trek is good, Star Trek is better.
Okay. I can get behind that statement. Sure.
So, episode Wrath of Khan is a better movie than any Star Wars movie, I think.
That's arguable.
No, I don't think it is. I think that the story and acting in that movie are more formational to me and more deep running. How I'm trying to say this, how deep the emotions are in that story, I think are even stronger than a random surprise of, spoilers, Darth Vader's Luke's father, right? Like, because arguably Empire Strikes Back is the best, right?
Right. I think most people agree with that statement.
Would you say Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so put those two movies next to each other so to make the comparisons easier.
Yeah.
I think that there's more thought that goes into a Star Trek movie that comes out of it, right? Like, the moments are deeper.
I think that I think I will say that in general, I like Star Trek better, personally. And between any time between now and then, it doesn't mean I dislike Star Wars. Star Wars is also great, but it's a different thing for me.
Yeah, and I've always hated that. Is like, oh, you like Star Trek? You must hate Star Wars. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's dumb. I like both.
I
like
really
sci-fi
like both.
stuff, and they're both that.
Yeah, they're completely different.
Yeah, the thing I like about Star Trek is that it's like futurist and aspirational.
Yeah.
It's like, look how good things could be. And Star Wars is like not that way. It's definitely like a lot grittier in some ways and like more real because like, well, they got to get money to like get Han Solo out of debt. But like, there aren't debts in Star Trek because there's no money.
And I think that's what I dislike. I guess hate was too strong a word. I dislike, and why I have identified more with Star Wars recently, is that Star Trek, the most recent 3 movies, have just been a CG fest.
Awful.
They're terrible if you are into what Star Trek was meant to be, which is not Star Wars. And the last 3 movies, I haven't seen the most recent one, I guess. So
it's not better.
Have not been anything other than just, why does the Enterprise blow up in every single one?
It blows up in that one too.
What? The
Yeah,
Enterprise
I don't know, dude.
managed to
It's-
make
yeah.
it through the first freaking three
Three
movies,
seasons.
and then again for the next 4.
Yeah, it made it through the first 3 seasons of the original series. It made it through most of the episodes of The Next Generation, which is like 7 seasons long. Although I guess it did blow up a few times in there. Or they
They
took
took
it
it apart, and it certainly was damaged. But like,
It did get blown up in some of the Next Generation movies towards the end. But yeah, most of the movies, I think, it was all right.
It blows up in Star Trek 3. It blows up in Generations. And that's it. No, it even survives Nemesis. Despite being totally royally screwed up.
It does survive. Man, Nemesis is a bad movie too.
You know what? I've rewatched Nemesis recently.
Is it better than I'm giving it credit for?
Once you get past the stupid opening and the face stretchers and the weird...
Like really, really bad... No, wait, the face stretchers, that's a different movie.
Oh, yeah, that's a different one, right? That's Insurrection. Insurrection is worse than
bad.
Nemesis.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
By a lot.
Yes.
Okay, that one's
correct. That's a correct opinion. Don't email us about that one. He's just right.
I think Insurrection... I'm going to say this. I think Insurrection may be worse than Star Trek 5.
Ooh, Star Trek 5, Voyage to the Center of the Universe to Meet Jesus? Space Jesus? Yeah, Insurrection's really bad. Yeah, you might be right. 5 is really bad, though. And it's like bad in that 70s way, which is like not a good way to be bad.
But at least Spock, Kirk, and McCoy are in that movie, and you can watch it and enjoy those 3.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one. I don't know. I don't want to compare worse here. But yeah, that's a bad movie.
Yeah. Insurrection.
Maybe don't watch. But Star Trek 6 is great.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Undiscovered Country, man. So good.
With Klingons quoting Shakespeare all the time. It's pretty great.
Yeah. Christopher Lloyd is a Klingon.
I think Christopher Lloyd as a Klingon was a great decision.
It worked out. I thought so.
It was perfect.
I like that movie.
Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, why does it... So this is what's wrong, and why you would say now that you'd think I'm more of a Star Wars fan than a Star Trek fan, is because unless that Discovery show goes back to where you and I believe Star Trek is, the heart of it
The Next
is,
Generation.
which is, aspiration, which is what can we become? How can we become better than ourselves? Which is, if you listen to Picard and everything...
Right, that's why I'm saying it's The Next Generation is the parts of Star Trek that are great.
Yeah. So there you go. So I don't think we're on different pages there. I think I just am expressing my dismay with the current direction of Star Trek by just paying attention to Star Wars.
That I can absolutely agree with you on. Absolutely. The Star Wars... Andrew, let's make Star Trek great again.
I'm going to sign off this podcast now.
Sorry.
Oh, wait, do you have more?
Let's see. Did I have more? We covered a lot of it in the back and forths there.
I interpreted that you said you had a couple comparison and contrasts.
I did. But I've forgotten them in our fanboy wars.
Oh, man. We really need to do a couple episode Star Trek special.
I would love that.
We need to get Dr. T on for that, too.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And who else? I think that's it. She's like the biggest Star Trek nerd that I can think of.
Yeah. I like that show a lot.
JJ, should we talk about something that's really important to both of us that we've been wanting to talk about for a little bit that is touchy, but not touchy because it's important and people should know about it?
I think it's wholly unrelated to the topic of this episode, but I think this is as good a place as any.
It's as good a place as any. We got a few minutes left, and something that both of us feel strongly about, and we have a podcast, so we might as well talk about it.
Let's use our platform of like 73 people.
I think it's higher than that now.
Is it? Okay. I don't know.
I'm not going to put statistics on this podcast, but it's higher than that.
Never tell me the odds.
Yeah. K2.
Man.
That was great. It was a great way to reference C-3PO, but doing different stuff.
Also, of course, a movie.
Spoiler?
Oh, Dang. All right, edit that out. Yeah, you should definitely edit that. Yeah. Oh, we want to talk a little bit about net neutrality here and the FCC.
Explain what we mean, because it has been used, net neutrality, depending
so
on
many times.
who uses the phrase,
means different things,
can
right?
mean different things and have a wholly different implication. So what is the issue you and I are trying to describe when we say neutrality?
So what we mean is that data coming out of your computer and going to other computers is just data. It should be treated the same as anyone else's data, and all data is as good as all other data, right? So there should not be fast lanes on the internet for people that pay more. There should not be a server or a computer run by a company that controls parts of the internet should treat all data equally.
So to compare this to systems that are in place otherwise, using your phone or your cell phone is governed by the principle that connecting people via wire or wireless or whatever to share information of any sort, forget the word data, but information should not be treated preferentially, right? Everyone should have the same access to water and power and news, etc. And therefore, when you connect people together for the purposes of connecting them via information sharing, it should be treated the same as any other public utility right.
Right. And to say that data that comes out of your phone is different than data that comes out of the person down the street's phone or the person across the road or yours versus mine, I mean, really makes no sense. They're all just little computers, and the information coming out of them is just whatever you're asking the computer to do. There's no reason that the data coming out of my phone should be treated differently than the data coming out of someone else's phone. Or if I'm watching video from Netflix, it should be treated differently than watching video from Hulu or anywhere else, right? It's all just data, and treating them differently makes no sense whatsoever.
So the reason this is an issue is because of
the Federal Communications Commission has currently, under President Obama, who knows if this will change, classified ISPs, which are the companies that sell you your internet access, your home internet access, as Title II broadband entities, I guess, which essentially means they can be regulated like the phone utilities are.
AKA, the FCC can tell them they are not allowed to treat traffic preferentially. If JJ downloads 10 megabytes a second all day, every day, and I download 1 megabyte per second every Tuesday and don't use my internet other than that, we should not be able to be treated differently according to the Title II classification, as long as we pay for the amount of service requested.
Correct. And we've already seen some erosions of that principle over the past several years, and some of the issues are becoming pretty egregious, in my opinion. AT&T has purchased DirecTV, which is a merger that has happened, and I don't really understand why.
And now Time Warner.
And now the media company, Time Warner, not the cable company, the media, like, Time Warner TV and stuff.
So let's get this on the table. AT&T produces television.
Correct.
Controls how it's delivered to you
via internet streams, because they sell you internet access.
Or DirecTV.
Right.
And then controls how you can then get out and communicate about said television through your internet access.
or consume the internet or consume the TV over the internet.
Correct.
And AT&T, as a person who currently is using AT&T internet access, has a monthly data cap of how much data you can download. And they tell you what it is. It's not a secret or anything. So at least they're upfront about it, which is, I guess, better than them not telling you about it. But the thing that is unfair about this is the data cap is fine, I guess, as long as you're agreeing to pay for. I wish there was no cap, but as long as you're agreeing to pay for whatever the service is, I don't see the cap necessarily as a problem, unless they start becoming like draconian.
Well, here's the problem with the cap.
The bigger issue is that if you're watching TV from DirecTV on your AT&T internet data, that data doesn't count towards the cap. But if I watch from Netflix, it does. That is a violation right there. That's that is data not being treated equally, and that's what I'm upset about.
Throttling more so than caps gets me, but think about it this way. You used to pay for minutes on your cell phone. You don't pay for those anymore, right? Because it doesn't cost them anything over the amount of time that you use your phone to provide the same connection to you. It's not like because you talked 500 minutes on your phone versus 50 minutes on your phone, they needed to keep a line separately for you or anything else like that. There's a giant cable and your voice travels on it.
I mean, you're talking about specifically a home phone.
Yeah, a home phone. Now imagine in the internet, you pay for, in my case, 100 megabytes down. It's there. It's in use all the time. It's a cable in the ground that data passes on.
Yep.
Why am I capped at how much I can use the cable that is constantly connected to my house? And open and in use it's not like you shut down the server after I use 50 gigabytes.
Yeah, it's again, I'm not happy about the caps, but as long as the caps are set unreasonably high, they don't really affect me.
I can't understand why they're set so high. Like, why have a cap if it's set that high? And why have a cap if you don't plan to, at some point, lower enforce it? Like, they put the caps in place now, right? Where no one thinks that they'll ever affect anyone at 250 gigabytes.
250 or 500 gigs. Yeah.
They'll never affect anyone. It's only there to protect us from blah, 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 blah.
It's there to protect them from people who are doing stuff like constantly downloading every single thing on the internet via torrents or whatever, or like uploading trillions of movies to the Pirate Bay or some illegal thing. And
I understand that, and I understand the principle of needing to crack down on the illegal activity, etc.
But like, the thing that bothers me is that then, if that's what they really are against, why do they let people who do that pay their way into like business class internet or whatever that then doesn't have those caps?
Exactly. That is treating data differently.
Yeah. It's not, and like the prioritization stuff, like I was talking about before, is like a more egregious version of this. Like, I can understand, okay, like you say 500 gigs or whatever. That's like like a lot of data. I'm extremely unlikely to ever use that in my home connection.
Yeah.
But the case where I can watch DirecTV video and it doesn't count as data, well, like, where did it come from then? They didn't just like make the bytes up and like appear on my screen. They had to travel over all those same pipes. Why does that data not count? But then when I watch from Netflix, it does.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Well, and that's what gets me about throttling as well. So what you're saying is, I can stream all your media and everything else, and it doesn't count. But when, for some reason, I've gone over some arbitrary cap number, and you've assumed that I've used too much of it, where does it come in? And for those of you that don't understand what throttling means, it means that when you've used a certain amount of data, they slow your speed. So let's say, and this doesn't happen on home internet as much as it does on your cell phone, because I assume the architecture for the cell phone means that they have some sort of bottleneck somewhere. But
the towers are the bottleneck.
They say well, you've used a bunch of data.
We can't know anything other than what they tell us. So.
You've used a certain amount of data. We need to slow you down to not affect the experience of other customers.
Right.
But
and so,
that doesn't count if you're using their own systems like DirecTV, etc.
Yeah. Or like if the net or like Verizon has a version of that, some mobile video thing, and you can watch that as much as you want, and it doesn't count against your data cap. So it's like, oh, your cell phone data plan is like 20 gigabytes or whatever, but you could watch 1,000 gigabytes of their service and it's fine. Like, why? I thought the problem was with the congestion of all the people at the towers, but you don't care if I stream this HD video for 7 days?
Mm-hmm.
It is the companies playing anti-competitively.
Right.
And it's not fair. I don't understand how lawmakers can be against, especially lawmakers who talk about the free market all the time, can be against this idea. They want it to be an unlevel playing field. That doesn't make any sense at all. Yet we're in the case where a lot of lawmakers are opposed to this idea because, like we discussed, it gets wrapped up in all these weird computer-related things. But really, it's about treating all people's data the same. Make it a fair playing field.
It's hard to wrap your head around because we're talking about a lot of vague principles here. It's really hard for a lot of people that don't use a lot of internet to understand why or how this will eventually affect them, JJ. Because it's very vague for people that are not using it all the time, like you and I. But imagine, I mean, like we could run into a place, as an example for some people. We use a product called Dropbox, where we put all of our files to back them up. We could run into a place eventually where if Dropbox didn't pay Time Warner for equal access charges,
Time Warner Cable,
which is now Spectrum Cable.
Yes, it's good that they rebranded because the other Time Warner kept getting them confused. Anyway.
So Spectrum Cable, if you didn't pay Spectrum Cable an equal access charge, if I tried to use Dropbox, I would then take 3 days to upload my file because it's capped.
You would have to pay the charge in order to use Dropbox.
Right.
So the nightmare scenario here is that these companies that control your access to the internet can say, well, we have deals in place with your favorite websites like Facebook and Twitter and Hulu, and all of them have great products that you can use anytime you want, as much as you want. You wanted to use Netflix also? Well, there's a separate charge to use Netflix, and that's $6.99 a month on top of whatever subscriptions Netflix needs from you, because they have to use our pipes, and that's expensive for us, which it's not.
No.
There are charges, but like it's not. You're paying them the monthly fee for your internet for those charges. That's their job to provide you that.
Yeah. The full nature of it is unlikely to be the place where you cannot access a website, but could be taken to the point that, much like the TV fights of old, or today, where it's like, well, CBS or ABC is not meeting our deal, so they're going to get cut off. Call CBS and tell them to meet our demands, or they're not going to be on your TV subscription anymore. This could happen where you get an email from Spectrum that says Netflix isn't meeting our demands to pay us for their usage of our pipes. So unless they do this, you will not be able to access Netflix any longer on your TV, on your internet subscription. It's like, wait, what? I can be cut off from a part of the internet?
And the worry is that it turns into what cable TV has turned into, which is the nightmare land of, oh, you want to watch ESPN? Okay, well, that's included in the basic cable package. But if you want to watch ESPN2, you can't just get ESPN2. You have to get these 700 other parts of ESPN that maybe, and like channels that you don't want, but are part of this $400 channel package. And that's the only way you can get it. There's no other way to get there.
Now, if you think we're only talking about entertainment products and that's, oh, well, whatever, you use a lot of data, you guys are young, you watch too much Netflix, you're cord cutters, etc. Here's the real nightmare. conglomerates, my friends, own all of your cable and internet access. And they also own all sorts of other companies like news media outlets. So what happens when your news media outlet, like, I don't know, I don't want to use a specific example, but 123 News, which is your only access to the Green Party, is the conglomerate that owns Spectrum Cable. And now everything like CNN, Fox, everything other than 123 News has to pay a huge fee to be accessed through the internet. And guess what? They can't afford it, so all you get is 123 News.
And so that's like...
That's the Uber nightmare.
That's the nightmare, right? We're not there yet, but we're taking steps in that direction. And, these things are slippery slopes, and it's not like we're going to get there tomorrow or even probably in the next 5 years. But when these sort of things are talked about by government officials as like, oh, well, this is okay.
When AT&T can buy
it's not
every single step of the path without some sort of antitrust thing, which seems like is the case.
Right. Like it's literally a monopoly at some point.
Did you hear what they're doing now? Time Warner and AT&T will not be reviewed as a merger by the FCC.
Why?
Because if Time Warner just drops all their TV licenses that the FCC own, that they have with the FCC, they are not allowed to be reviewed by the FCC. If you merge with like communications licenses, you get hit with two different antitrust reviews. There's SEC and FCC, and the
SEC review is
it's a rubber stamp
monopoly one, more or less. But yeah, they're going to rubber stamp anything that's like business acceptable, right, unless it's like an illegal takeover or something.
So to avoid the FCC review, which would likely say, no,
you have too many
licenses that you're combining into this. Time Warner has said, well, we're just not going to transfer our licenses. So not reviewable. Sorry.
And whatever.
They will build these conglomerations. It's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, but they will find ways to build these things. And unless you value your access to the internet as a fundamental utility, these are the scenarios that could happen.
And it's not like we're saying that internet is a basic human right or something.
I said utility.
But no, I'm just trying to explain the position. It's not like everyone needs to have internet access in order to live. But
I mean, arguably you kind of do now. Banking happens through the internet.
It is very important for a modern person to have internet access. And if if your access is unequal to someone else's, that presents a problem. If you're paying for access, like you shouldn't have to pay for access to parts of the internet, right? It should be you either get it or you don't. And you pay for the access to it or you don't. And that's what we're trying to preserve here.
So I think that's
all of it.
That's probably as complete as an argument as we can make. And we understand that maybe it's not as holistic of you. We didn't really present any arguments in the opposite direction. But we're not a news show as such. We're not a reporting show, I guess we should say.
Right.
We have opinions, and our opinion is from the aspect of a consumer, not a corporation. And the corporation does not have your interests in mind by saying that you should have these other companies pay for unequal access.
And I think that's really the important thing to remember is that, the corporation has the corporation's interest in mind. Sometimes that aligns with your interest, and sometimes it doesn't. And the cases where it doesn't, we hope or we want to tell our government and our representatives to stop the corporations from abusing consumers. So write your congresspeople or, give them a call or an email and tell them, hey, this stuff is important and please make it fair.
And with that, and a little bit of empowerment that we've given you with introspection on ourselves and the internet, that's the end of our our little pre-recording here.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to us, everybody.
If we've missed any part of our personality, you can contact us where?
podcast@weweregamers.com if you want to send us an email. Or you can look us up at We Were Gamers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and most social medias, I think.
All right. We're on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. So if you get a chance...
leave us some reviews.
Yeah, if you get a chance, if you think that we've said something interesting today or any of the previous umpteen weeks, because we don't know exactly when this one comes out.
Not important.
Leave us a review. Tell people that we're worth listening to. And if you don't think we're worth listening to, don't leave a review.
Or do leave a review, but give us 5 stars anyway and stick it to the man.
There you go.